What's up, guys? User friendly here. I had somebody ask me again about macros and weakauras, so I'm just going to spend a few minutes goofing around in Torghast and show you guys my weakauras and my macro setup. I'm going to go with weakauras first. The first weakaura I have, as you can see up on my screen down here, this is a reminder that I don't have a trinket buff. This trinket, I right click it, it puts a buff, Flayed Wing Toxin, that goes away. So that weakaura basically checks for Flayed Wing Toxin buff on me. Um, I don't have an icon on it just because I know what it means. I could change that, um, but that's just one of the. I keep it on myself to make sure that I have that buff, because otherwise the trinket's just an agility stat stick. Um, so I'm gonna get in some combat here. Um, the most recent one that you guys are gonna see here is the first strike macro, or weakaura right here. This is a macro for the soulbind. If you have Corrin as a soulbind, the first strike ability gives you a 25% critical strike chance increase after you hit something that hasn't hit you yet. So if you're using that soulbind, it's a really good idea to maximize that uptime if you can. Um, the second one down here that you guys just saw is my flare macro. It basically tells me that flare is available to be cast. Um, I've seen a weakaura that will let you know how many monsters are in your trap, I believe, which you could probably just use as an indicator for whether or not a boss is in your trap. I don't know if it works on bosses though. Um, I just kind of eyeball it. It's easier on regular monsters where you can see the tar trap debuff on them. You could put in a weakaura to check for the tar trap debuff, but that's only going to work on maybe Mythic Plus and on smaller monsters. It's not going to work on raid bosses. So, something to think about. Um, Over here, these are my trackers for Beast Cleave, uptime on Beast Cleave. If you're good enough to be able to just cast Beast Cleave every third global cooldown, then more power to you. I need to see or I'll forget, honestly. Um, Next to that are my uptime trackers for Frenzy on my pet and Thrill of the Hunt on me. Currently, Thrill of the Hunt seems best for me. It kind of goes alongside um, Frenzy. Um, but at some points, you do need to track them separately. So I have the weakaura just set up to do both. Just a point of note here. If you guys are using Corrin as your soulbind, it's nice in Mythic Plus. Be aware that you have to cast a single target ability, or you have to have a casted ability targeted at that monster in order for it to trip the buff. The good thing about that is Tar Trap doesn't trip it. Flare and the application of Soulfires or Soulforge Embers doesn't trip it. The damage from the dots from Soulforge Embers doesn't trip it. A casted ability, like if you cast Barb Shot at something, that trips it. If you cast Multi-Shot will trip it. But it's a good idea to, if you're using Soulforge Embers, to drop your trap first, Soulforge Embers first, then throw your 2 Barb Shots, throw Bestial Wrath, and then throw another Barb Shot, and then throw a multi-shot. The logic behind that is you can get almost your first full 5 seconds of that off, and then throw a multi-shot, and then you can refresh that buff again. so it's definitely worth your time. I just recently did two Mythic Pluses of the same level. Same key, same level, same affixes. One with Kira as a soulbind, and one with Corrin as, or Naya, and one with Corrin as a soulbind. So Burrs versus First Strike. It was a tyrannical week, so Burrs is going to be a little bit more favored because First Strike is essentially useless on a single target fight. Whereas Burrs is going to put out a lot of damage over the course of that fight, but the trash pack is going to make you're going to see a difference in the trash packs. I would imagine it goes without saying, this weakaura right here lets me know that Wild Spirits is available off of cooldown. I have a lot of weakauras. Oh, hey, am I supposed to? Wonder how I'm supposed to get over there. My pets are probably stuck on the other side. A lot of my weakauras, I have a custom trigger setup that I am not sure is the most effective in the world, but it works. If you're mounted, it doesn't show the weakauras because you don't need them. Ooh, Soul Steel Pinion. I was hoping we'd grab this so I could show you guys another one of these weakauras. Soul Steel Pinion gives you a 100% critical strike and 100% critical damage buff for 6 seconds after having cast Intimidation. So you guys can see it in action right here. I put up a weakaura just for the sake of using Soul Steel Pinion. We're going to line up all our abilities, get going on this guy, and then we hit Soul Steel Pinion, and as you can see, I have my little weakaura here that lets me know the duration of Soul Steel Pinion. It's pretty convenient. For as far as Torghast is concerned, that's one of the most powerful abilities in here as far as for putting out boss damage goes, because not only does it make you crit, it gives you 100% crit damage bonus as well. So, yeah, it's pretty fantastic. So, yeah, that is most of my weakauras. I'm going to open my weakauras up here real quick here and see if there's anything that I haven't. I'm going over Barb Shot. I have a weakaura to tell me when I'm at 2 stacks of Barb Shot, because you never want to be at 2 stacks of Barb Shot. So if you're at 2 stacks of Barb Shot, you're doing it wrong. You need to cast one. I don't know how you're still shooting me. I just feigned death. So it yells at me if I hit 2 stacks. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna link everything that I can remember linking. I'm gonna watch this video over again and try to link the weakauras in the order that I go over them, so that you guys can import any of the strings if you want. The simple fact that I have them set up to not load if I'm mounted, I like. Sometimes it's really annoying. I mean, most people have the weakauras set to load if they're only if they're in combat, but I personally hate riding through the world, and I use the I use the comfortable rider's barding that makes it so you can't get dismounted, you can't get dazed. So I'm never gonna get dazed. But I hate riding through the world and having my weakauras blinking at me like, oh, you need to cast Barb Shot. I'm like, no, I don't need to cast Barb Shot. I'm on my mountain and I'm running from World Quest to World Quest. I just got aggroed by something. So, I also have a Kill Shot macro. As you guys saw, it popped up. It checks for the target health, or basically it checks for action usable. The kill shot only becomes usable under 20% health of the target, but it also checks for cooldown, or action usable checks for basically just that. If the button's lit up and you can cast it, it takes into for kill shot. It takes into consideration obviously cooldown and enemy health. So you could put in a separate trigger for checking the HP percentage of your target, but I feel comfortable just checking action usable. Technically, it leaves you a second because there's the chance that, oh boy, technically there's the first global cooldown that you have while the target is under 20%. Kill shot's not usable because the global cooldown is triggered. I think, maybe. But at the end of the day, honestly, I don't feel like it's worth it to rework the macro just for that small period of time. I think that's everything in the realm of weak auras. There's a couple weak auras that I wrote specifically for doing twisting corridors. Some anima powers that interact in interesting ways. Let's see if I can bring them up here real quick. I have a wild spirits macro as well. Just to show me when wild spirits is available. I think I unloaded them. Some of them were basically you get an anima power that makes it so that when you disengage, it lays a trap where you were when you started to disengage and where you were when you land. And there's another ability that gives you a damage increase every time you lay a trap. So that basically turns disengage into a DPS increase, 75% with 25% per anima power DPS increase. That's off the global cooldown. Basically turns your frost trap into a DPS cooldown also. You can just drop your tar trap at your feet, or your freezing trap at your feet, and you don't even have to hit anything with it. Just casting it gives you triggers a buff and gives you a 25% buff for each power that you have. I think when I wrote the macro I had 3, so it was giving me a 75% damage increase every time I hit disengage or drop my dart trap. So I set up a weak aura that checked for the DPS buff being missing and disengage being available or usable. So if I didn't have the buff from dropping a trap normally in combat and disengage was available, it yelled at me to pop disengage just to get that 75% damage increase. It made me pretty efficient in the last run of twisting corridors. I think I was doing that in on floor 8, layer 8, whatever. But yeah, it was fun. Alright, so that's most of my weak auras. Let's go ahead and get into some of my macros. I use come here, jerk. Are you seriously not gonna trip my trap? You're a jerk. If you look on Icy Veins, there's a section that explains having all of your pet attack abilities macroed into all your attacks, because there's a delay between you hitting things or telling your pet to hit something and it's starting to use its special abilities. So you look at my kill command, it's got claw bite smack. My barb shot has claw bite smack. My cobra shot has claw bite smack. The only downside to this is it's great for DPS, or it's a minor help for DPS, but it makes it so that you can't put your pets on passive and then hit anything. If you're in a raid situation where they call DPS off, and you can't just auto attack, or I like to keep throwing barb shots at the target, so that I can keep my frenzy stack up, even though I don't want to be doing a lot of damage. But every time I cast barb shot, my pet goes and hits the target. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm doing it at the moment, but I wouldn't say that it's permanent or necessary. So it is what it is. I just got rid of that. I also have 3 different multi-shots. My regular multi-shot, I have PMD, which stands for Pet Misdirect. And I also have a FCS, which is Focus Misdirect. These macros, it basically targets my focus target, casts Misdirection, and targets my last target and casts multi-shot. I just learned from a guildmate of mine that I could probably make that macro a little bit more efficient and just cast target equals focus misdirection. So, this one also still works the same way, but it does my pet. Target pet works. So, basically cast misdirect on my pet and then cast multi-shot. I like having it in here. It's especially great in Torghast. There's a lot of pet empowering powers. Or a lot of misdirection empowering powers, so that your pet takes reduced damage or does increase damage under the effects of misdirect. I think it's called Fogged Crystal. It's a fantastic one. It gives your pet a 90% damage reduction for the entire duration of misdirect. So it really gives you a chance to get set up in a fight. Get your use your barb shots to get your frenzy stacks up, get your wild spirits rolling. Use your soul steel pinion, and it works really well with blood gorge leeches. The ability that gives you just a chance to heal yourself and your pet for a flat percentage. It gets 5% per power every time you do abilities. So once you get up and you get rolling, it's the fogged crystal is a really great way to make sure that you have everything rolling and you're into your pure DPS rotation, so that your pet is going to be able to get healed as well as you. Usually your pet, more importantly, but so yeah, pet misdirect, useful. I have a macro for my Soulforge Embers. I made a video on that. Actually got 11,000 views or something like that. It's pretty crazy shenanigans. I'll link it down in the bottom. I'll link the video and I'll put the macro if you just want that. It is a cast sequence macro, meaning that it casts abilities in a certain string. For me specifically, it is a tar trap and then 2 flares. The logic behind that is tar trap is a 24-second cooldown, 25-second cooldown. Tar Trap is a 25-second cooldown. The Tar Trap itself on the ground will last 30 seconds. And the trap, if untripped, will last a minute. So, in order to get the most out of your flares, which is on a 20-second cooldown, it's ideal to be casting 2 flares into every tar trap that you put down. The problem with this is it can be a little annoying since tar trap is on a longer cooldown. The solution to this problem, or the solution that I use to this problem, is a cast sequence macro with I think it's a 24-second reset timer, meaning that the first time you hit it, it will cast Tar Trap. The second time you hit it, it will cast Flare. It will then wait, and the third time you hit it, it will also cast Flare. The problem is Flare's on cooldown, so you can't hit it a third time. If you go 24 seconds from hitting the button without hitting it, the macro will reset. This is useful because it makes it so that if you are in a situation where you're in a Mythic Plus or you're in a raid and the target is moving out of your tar trap, you can't cast that second flare into your tar trap. You have to wait for the duration, or for tar trap to come off of cooldown. Now, you can do this with 2 different buttons. If you just want to have a macro for casting tar trap at your cursor location, and then one for casting flare at your cursor location, and you have 2 hotkeys, you're more than welcome to do it. That's as far as efficiency goes, that's probably the best way to do it, because there's nothing's going to get in the way of you using those abilities. The reason that I like having it on the same button is because it's just one button. I hit it, it casts Heart Trap at my location. I hit it again, it casts Flare at the same location, or at my cursor, and everybody wins. I only have to use one hotkey. I'm not swimming in hotkeys. So, yeah, my misdirect macro, I switch in between depending on what I'm going to do. If I'm in a Mythic Plus, I'll make the tank to focus, and I will use my pet or my focus misdirection macro. If I'm doing anything else, I'm usually using my pet misdirect macro. I also have another weak aura that I set up recently. It reminds me that my pet is on passive. You can see it up here, bouncing text. It says stance passive. If I'm in combat and my pet's on passive, it bounces. It's basically to keep me from having my pet on passive without my knowledge. If I know that I want my pet on passive, then by all means I'll let it bounce. But in these instances, like for most of when I've been talking to you guys, I probably should have had it not on passive. But it's not the end of the world. Sometimes you don't even notice because your pet, since you have all your attacks macroed into everything, if you are casting at something, it is your pet's going to attack it. But so we'll go into I'll show you guys a little bit more about the macro working here. So this is my macro right here. Tar Trap is off of cooldown. As you can see, Flare's off of cooldown too. So I'm going to hit it, and it's going to throw Tar Trap. And then it lights up as Flare. When I hit it a second time, it shows that Flare has been cast. And it's on cooldown. Because right now, it's trying to cast Flare for me, but I can't cast Flare. So it will wait, because it's still been less than 20 seconds. And as soon as it comes off of cooldown, I can hit it again. As you can see, it resets back to tar track because I worked my way through the cast sequence, because the cast sequence is only tar trap, flare, flare, and then it was reset back to tar trap. If you get an instance like this, I'll throw my tar trap. Trips, I throw flare. I'll see it messed up. Now, for some reason, I threw tar trap, and it's still on tar trap, which is not supposed to happen. It's not perfect. For some reason, things mess up the cast sequence macro. I'm not 100% positive what it is. But it's still back at the beginning because tar trap is the first ability. I will show you guys what I'm talking about. We can watch it reset. This guy should last long enough. We're going to throw tar trap. We're going to throw flare. So we're waiting. We're waiting. We're at 10 seconds now. Don't want the macro to go away. You can watch it. So, tar traps or flare's getting ready to come off of cooldown. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it resets. So if I didn't hit anything within 24. I think it's 24 seconds that I'm using. Yeah, we're 23-second reset timer. So it resets back to tar trap. So if you are in a dungeon where you only have to, or you're waiting to throw your flare because you're on the next pack or the tank has moved the target, you only have to wait an extra 3 or 4 seconds for the macro to reset. So it's like right now, I need to cast tar trap. And there it goes, a reset. Did I just get jumped by another? That's funny. You guys are jerks. You're going to get stunned. There's a rare spawn and I got jumped by the second rare spawn while I was fighting the first one. Well, let's get your guys' fancy abilities. Vial of Lost Potential. Oh man, this ability right here. Subjugator's Manacles. Super powerful. I would take the damage and healing increase. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's works pretty well. Like I said, I made that macro back when I first got Soul Forge Embers, because I don't have 2 hotkeys lying around because push a lot of buttons. I gotta go out and around, don't I? I'm trying to think of what other macros I use. They're changing this. I have another macro to show me what my Mythic Vault's gonna be. There's a string for that, so that's nice. I have a macro for my Tome of Teleportation. A fancy little add-on that lets you, shows you everywhere that your character can teleport to, which is super nice. If you want to just teleport to your shipyard, Draenor, all your different Hearthstones. It's fun. My Bestial Wrath macro, that was a poor talent to take. My Bestial Wrath macro has my second unused trinket in it, Memory of Past Sins. It just shows tooltip Bestial Wrath. It casts Aspect of the Wild also, so you don't waste your Aspect of the Wild. Even if if you do nothing but use this macro, you're never going to have Aspect of the Wild off of cooldown for very long because your Bestial Wraths are going out pretty frequently. And since the Aspect of the Wild is off of cooldown now, it's good to macro it into there. Cast Bestial Wrath, does the 3 pet abilities, and then uses my my Memory of Lost Sins trinket. So, I think that's mostly it. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this Torghast run, and then I'll get to posting this and linking some macros and some weakauras for you guys. Some of the other stuff I have loaded, I have macro to tell me I have a teleport cloak on. I have not a macro, a weakaura tell me I have a teleport cloak on. I have one set up to tell me if I'm in the maw and I don't have my most loyal seal of Sire Denathrius. There's a ring that drops in Castle Nathria that makes it so that your the jailer gets mad at you less. This one reduces the rate at which you incur the eye of the jailer in the maw. So if I'm in the maw and I don't have that on, I have a weakaura that pops up an icon for the ring that's like, hey, you're missing your trinket or your ring, and you could be getting less eye of the jailer. So get your shit together, dum-dum. And I go, okay. And then I also have one that's set up all the time that shows me that I have that ring on. So if I'm someplace else and I'm wearing that ring, it yells at me not to, because you know, you shouldn't be wearing that ring anywhere that isn't the mall. I'm going to Solstice Opinion just for fun. Blow up this mall rat. So yeah, those are set to, one of them set to load in just the mall. And because you don't want, I mean, I don't want it on anywhere but the mall, because I don't need to be informed anywhere but the mall. So that is my weakauras and macros for the most part. You're not aggro? Come here, man. Didn't even trip the trap. These little puddles on the ground are that ability that gives me increased damage. Yeah, we're gonna forget it. We're gonna go. Torghast is not as intimidating as it used to be, especially after you finish Twisting Corridors. We do that, and we're gonna use our Solstice Opinion on you, buddy, just to be fun. That ability resonates a lot more with Wild Spirits on, but it is what it is. Ooh, Storm Cycle Peridot. I've been running around all this time. I forgot I had empowered jumps. And I also never used my Ravenous Anima Cell on anything. Oh well. As you guys can tell, layer 8s aren't too painful anymore in regular Torghast. Yes, I want to buy it. Yes, I want to buy it. Yes, I want to buy it. Yeah, we're fine. Let's see what cool things we get. Critical health healing, yup. Might as well do that because the other one's useless. And I'll take the more critical. Let's do this just for fun. Boop. 400 anima. The Phantasm. You do that on the first broker, I think, without any consequences. I'm going to get out a Bloodlust Pet here. Alright. We're going to heal him up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and send him in. Trap. Flare. Barb Shot. Barb Shot. Bestial Wrath. Barb Shot. Wild Spirits. Bloodlust. Intimidation. Now we run around in circles. I don't know if I talked about my Bestial Wrath weakaura. I assume I would go without saying. I have one to show me that Bestial Wrath is available, and the other one just a duration timer that shows me how much time I have left on it. And personally, I have the way that I have my Bestial Wrath set up. If I hit my Bestial Wrath button, it pops my macro that does everything. And then right above it, I have, or on a control, that button, I have just Bestial Wrath. The logic behind this is you can hit this macro when Bestial Wrath is not, or when Bestial Wrath is on cooldown and Aspect of the Wild isn't, so that you can get the, you can pop Aspect of the Wild without having to pop Bestial Wrath. If there's a situation where you'd want to do that, sometimes I will pop Bestial Wrath by itself, and then I will wait that one global cooldown, and then right before I do my barb shot, I will tap the button again and then tap barb shot instantaneously afterwards. So you cast your first barb shot in the first fraction of a second of having your Aspect of the Wild up. So you get an extra, usually I would imagine you get an extra global cooldown into Aspect of the Wild per cast if you do it that way. But yeah, if you guys got any questions, let me know. Be happy to answer them. Oh, I don't know, Aspect of the Turtle. Aspect of the Turtle. Turtle. My Aspect of the Turtle macro cancels my Aspect of the Turtle also. So if you click it once, puts it up, click it again, it cancels it. I don't know if that's how Aspect of the Turtle works normally. Maybe they made it so that that is the way that works. Let's find out. Aspect of the Turtle. Yeah, see, clicking Aspect of the Turtle. Oh, yeah, it will. Okay. I don't know. I'm from the days where you needed a macro to do it. I trust my macro. But, yeah, that's it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help you out.